Let's get down to the starting line, and I'll tell you what you're going to see on the show tonight. A 1973 Husqvarna 125 that was sent in by Chris Lucas in the What's It Worth segment. Something very special, something very unusual. A 1934 Harley-Davidson 500. And we've got motocross history, trivia is back. We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Don Kadowski.
I'm Barry Higgins.
I'm
Gary Chaplin. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abbate.
Good evening, everyone. I am Joe Abbate, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please share the show and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's building up. It's looking pretty good over there, and we've got new and exciting things coming up. I do want to thank all of our sponsors and show supporters. Here they are on the board, just some of them. We've got a lot more, and they really, really help make this show what it is today. Thank you, Kevin Burgess, Fred Beaver, Carl Ward, and so many more, including Tim Whitehouse, John Cockeval, and Tim Christie. Susie is with me. Suze, you here?
I am.
All right, there you are. You got some stuff you're giving away tonight?
I do.
Tell me about it.
Look at that Z for Zundat book by Kurt Evans. It's so cool.
It is.
It's a very cool book, and that I'm going to give away. It depends on the winner,
right?
Two things: the What's It Worth or the Appreciation. We will see, and then the two-stroke oil.
Okay, that's from compliments of Russell Waters and Amsoil, as well as Kurt Evans with that neat little book. Okay, so we'll be talking to Susie a little bit more later on in the show, and she'll tell us who is going to win what. In fact, you know what? I want to here. I've got it right here. I've got that little Kurt Evans book, and it is called Z for Zundap, but it's got actually, well, as you can imagine, it's A through Z, and it's got all the bikes in there from AJS to Bultaco, and here, something like that. All right? We'll be giving that away a little bit later on in the show. In the meantime, let's get right down to the Moto Showcase. The Moto Showcase is, of course, brought to you by Preston Petty Products. Be sure to visit them online at PrestonPettyProducts.com. Tonight, we're going to be looking at a 1973 Husqvarna CR125. And the Husqvarna 125 was produced from 72 to 1985. It was often hard to tell one model year from the other. And, for example, the engine of a 74 sports the same serial numbers as a 73 frame. Even more confusing, the gas tank logos changed in font and color between 73 and 74. What is true is that at the time of its release, Husqvarna CR125 was absolutely the most expensive 125 motocross a buyer could get. Unfortunately for Husky, it was released at almost the same time as the first Yamaha YZ125 and, of course, the CR125 just a short time later. Husqvarna suffered the same fate as many of the other European motocross bike manufacturers, as the Japanese machines kept getting better and better. In 87, the Swedish brand was sold to Cagiva, and production was moved to Italy. In 2009, BMW purchased the brand from Cagiva, and the brand is becoming a premier brand once again. It certainly is. It's there in Supercross. It's there in motocross. So let's get a look at the video that was put together. Well, actually, I put the video together, and it's a bike that was sent in from Chris Lucas. My first real 72 Husqvarna was my first real dirt bike. One of the pictures is me with the bike in 1974, so it's no surprise that it's my favorite bike to build, and I'm always on the lookout for them. This particular bike had been stashed away for about the last 50 years. I've known about it for the last 20, and I was finally able to acquire it in February of this year and bring it back to life. This 73 Husky USGP replica has a high point tank, forward-mounted swing arm, Bing 84 carburetor, machined down Bader forks, Magura controls, subframe reinforcement, new 73 pipe and silencer, Webco pegs, new shouldered rims, complete rebuilt engine, stainless hardware, 250 mag hubs front and rear, and a lot more. Most of the modifications are original to the bike from 1973. I do want to thank Chris Lucas for sending in that bike. The Lucas family collection have been big supporters of our show for quite some time, buying shirts and making a lot of contributions to the show as well. So thank you, Chris Lucas, for that 1973 Husky, an interesting story that goes along with it. And the fact that you could say that it's a bike that you own new in 1973, I think we all wish we had that same story. Not all of us do. Don't forget, if you want to become a Vintage Motocross supporter for just $49.95, you can get yourself a t-shirt. You can get your name up on the board for 3 months, and you're going to get, while they last, a Racer X poster of Tony DeStefano and Jimmy Weiner. $49.95, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, or we will take a money order as well. In the Next Time Try This segment, which is brought to you by Motion Pro for quality tools, cables, and controls, be sure to visit motionpro.com. We are going to take a look at a Mako clutch basket fix. Now, for you Mako guys, you are familiar with some of the problems that go on with the basket and the rivets that are holding it all together. So let's take a look at this, and it could be of a big help, well, to not only the Mako guys, but anybody else out there who may have a similar clutch problem.
We have the clutch basket off of your Magnum Series Mako engine. One of the things you want to take a close look at is back of the clutch basket. This is your kickstart ratchet gear, and it's riveted to the clutch basket. Now, as these rivets, they get loose, and eventually what you'll find is one of them on your magnetic drain plug, or more of them. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try and go in and reset the rivets, and then we'll put 3 equally spaced TIG tacks around the plate to help hold it on. So one of the things you definitely want to check when you have your clutch basket off. Here's the C-frame riveter. It's an aircraft tool, but it works great for the Mako clutches. And you got the piece right here that's for the rivet head, and then just a flat button here to set the shop head. And we got these to tighten up. So we'll just put a little TIG tack weld on them for a little security, and good to go. Okay, as you can see, we got 3 equally spaced little TIG tack welds on that Magnum Series kick ratchet. That'll help relieve a little bit of the strain on the rivets. Act as kind of a safety. So, good tip to always do. See ya.
All right, there you have it from Fritz Gunther. A little tip on Mako clutch baskets. And, you know, every basket has a gear on the back like that. So whether it's your Yamahas, Hondas, different bikes, they do have not rivets, but they do have, well, no, they actually are rivets. They're peened. Sometimes they have a very, very hard rubber bushing in there. So I thought that would be pretty advantageous to show you something like that tonight, regardless of what motorcycle brand you buy. In the Here's the Problem segment tonight, it's brought to you by Gordon McCaffer. Be sure to visit Gordon McCaffer on Facebook, or his phone number is right here on the page. Gordon, of course, builds these beautiful work stands. He is a certified welder. You could get a hold of him at that number right there. Now, what is the problem? The problem is none of you sent in a problem this week. That's right. Nobody sent in anything. Nobody sent in any questions. I looked at the last minute. I didn't really see anything. I didn't want to just make something up or do something that we had on in the past. But for you people that are watching, I really do appreciate your questions. It's a big part of the show. So next time, you know, take a minute, send in a question. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. And believe me, I will try my best to answer it as wisely as possible. Now, one of the best parts of that segment is the McCaffer commercial. Let's get to that, and we'll be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A. I generally run an outro before I do a commercial, and I didn't do it that time, but I know you guys really like it, so here it is.
Hey, I'm Brad Lackey, and
This is Donnie Hansen.
I'm Doug Grant.
Hi, I'm Tommy Croft, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A with Joe Abbate. We'll be right back with my dear friend Joe.
Tommy is a dear friend. So now let's get back to the show. And just like that, it is already time for trivia. Okay, trivia is brought to you by Mike McCook and Motorcyclist Illustrated. Be sure to visit them online, on Facebook rather, at Motorcyclist Illustrated, a very diverse group over there. On-road bikes, off-road bikes, dual purpose, a whole lot going on there. And just a lot of great contributors over at Motorcyclist Illustrated. Mike McCook has been a contributor to the show for several years now, and he's come up with a lot of posters for us and a lot of other things as well. Tonight we will be giving away another one of the Racer X cover posters that we have, and we don't have many of these left, okay? It's 18 by 24, Jim and Jimmy Weiner, Tony DiStefano, and it was a cover of Racer X back in 2004. This is a call-in contest only. So you probably have it on speed dial at this point, 925-784-2195, 925-784-2195. And here is tonight's trivia question. Japan leads the world in manufacturing motocross motorcycles. No surprise there. But they have very few world champion riders. Can you name them? They have so few riders, you could probably name them. They're world championship riders from Japan. Largest manufacturers of motorcycles and off-road bikes in the world. But yet, they have very few Japanese world champions when it comes to motocross. 925-784-2195. Call in now, and somebody's going to win this poster. And again, getting down to the bottom of the pile on these. So put on your thinking cap, get out there, and get yourself a poster, okay? Let's move right on. While we're waiting for a trivia winner, we get down to Dave's Classic Corner. Dave Boyden, AMS Racing. Be sure to visit AMS Racing online at amsracing.com. Also follow Dave Boyden on Facebook. He's always doing something interesting between swap meets and car shows, motorcycle shows, and all kinds of things from Dave. So we're in Dave's Corner. Let's take a look at what Dave has this week.
Hi everybody, this is Dave from AMS. I'm kind of running back and forth between the paint shop and the painters, wholesaler place, and he's short-handed, so I kind of helping him out. And every time I get back down to his shop, he has another piece. That's a nice green he's got there for my number plate backgrounds. But here's the Model 3 Mark III 250 Persang. If you follow me online and look back, I showed you a bunch of dead Persangs. The one with the white gas tank sat out in a guy's yard right down the street here. It sat out there for years. I think he was given it. And then one day he mentioned that he thinks he got the motor inside and it's matching numbered. And I go, oh, you want to sell that? And he said, yeah. So the first one I'll produce is that one. But he's a good guy, and he knew he was going to see that bike all done. But there we're getting going. I've got to run to the my computer guy now because my phone has 33,000 photos in it. And I guess I got to go buy some little stick thing, and we got to take a bunch of pictures out of it because it won't load a video now. And with Mid-Ohio and Wasion coming up, I got some videos to take and post, so I got to get this straightened out. So that's where we're at today, and man, oh man, dude. I mean, it's, I don't know what time it is, maybe 10:30 or 11. It says we're just under 110 today, right now. Hottest hour of the day here is between 3 and 4 o'clock. So we'll come back and check that a little later. Right there showing about 108 right now. It's 108, don't be late. Sky's clear. Oh, we finally have a nice breeze right there. I am soaked like Ohio soaked. It's just very unusual for Arizona to be this humid. Wow. I just mentioned it to the guy who picked the bike up. He goes, you're not kidding, I've lived here all my life. Yeah. So here's the poor trucks sitting there waiting for me to finish doing the paperwork and the stuff for the insurance company. Just a little frustrating for them to, Progressive, to call me up and tell me that he doesn't have enough coverage and I might as well file the claim with my own insurance. And I said, what? he gets arrested. He obviously did what he did, and I'm going to use my policy and have my rates go up because we have to use my policy. Boy, the daytime sure shows the side of this truck a lot more, doesn't it?
Boy, my editing skills need to be sharpened up. I didn't realize Dave was going to be a meteorologist as well as an insurance adjuster when he made the video on the Bull Taco. But Dave, you did a good job there, and thank you very much, as always, for bringing us some entertaining stuff, especially on that Bull Taco. Now, we don't have any callers yet on the trivia question, so I'm going to put it up here one more time. Japan leads the world in manufacturing motocross motorcycles, but they have very few world champion riders. Can you name them? And do not put it in the comments. Grow a pair and call 925-784-2195, but please don't put it in the comments. All right. We had that happen a couple of times and kind of spoiled the suspense, if you know what I mean. Okay. All right. Moving on. We are down to, Full Circle. What's it worth? What's it worth segment brought to you by Tom McAllister and Full Circle Racing. Be sure to visit them online at fullcircleracinglimited.com. We've got something very, very special this week, and I do have a little slideshow that I put together. But first, I want to read to you a little bit about this bike, the CAC 1934 Harley Davidson. And this, of course, is the segment of the show where I want you, the viewers at home, to guess how much you think. Guess how much you think this bike recently sold for, okay? And if you do that, we're going to get you that book by Kurt Evans, okay? So let's take a look at it one more time. The CAC in the 1934 Harley Davidson stands for Clay and Cinder. It was legendary specialized Class A racing motorcycle built by the factory explicitly to dominate the loose dirt short track speedway racing circuits that were highly popular during the 1930s. Some key specifications of the bike are it is a 30.5 cubic inch single cylinder overhead valve engine. It produced 32 horsepower at 5,600 RPMs. Compression ratio was 16.5 to 1. It is a short wheelbase hardtail frame featuring no brakes, as was the speedway racing standard at that time. Because of their design was purely for aggressive high impact racing only. Only a number of CAC models were ever produced. Today, the 1934 CAC is considered exceptionally rare and highly sought after by Harley Davidson collectors. So let's get a little bit of a look at the slideshow we've put together here, and I can read you a little bit more about the specifics on this bike. Serial number 34CA C526. And we want to know what's it worth. One of the last factory Class A speedway racers produced by Harley Davidson. CAC is an acronym for Clay and Cinder. As I mentioned, 30.5 cubic inch overhead valve single cylinder engine, double roller bearing crankshaft, compression ratio at 16.5 to 1, rated at 32 horsepower. It has a magneto ignition. It runs on alcohol. Leonard MRT, 1.1 carburetor with a by Venturi Racing, dual down tube, rigid rear adjustable torsion rod chassis, direct drive, short coupled jack shaft, revs to 6,000 RPMs. There is no clutch and no brakes on this bike. Harley Davidson's Class A Speedway designed based on the Jap period motorcycle. And it's time for you guys to tell us what you think it's worth. And anybody that could even come close without going over will win that Kurt Evans book. Okay, so we are waiting for you to either call in like you do on the trivia contest, but try not to. Well, sometimes they put the answer in the comments as well. So I'm going to go down here just a second and 10,500, 11,250, 9,500. 26,000, 32,000. You better keep going, guys. Keep going, and I'm going to leave the lines open on that for a few minutes, and I'll check back again. But so far, even at 95,000, 28,000, you're well short of what that bike sold for, okay? So let's keep it up, and eventually, hopefully, we will have a winner tonight. Don't forget to see our ad in Vintage Views. We do prepare aluminum gas tanks here. No bondo, no fillers, 20 plus years experience. Turnaround time is presently about 2 weeks. I'll send you progress pictures along the way. And yeah, you'll be in the loop of what's going on as your gas tank is repaired. Our repair start at about $295. And that's any aluminum tank, whether it's painted or not, Yamaha, Honda, Greaves, whatever you have. Okay. In the meantime, we are going to move on to something a little bit different that I've gotten some calls lately. It just seems they come in these little clouds, so to speak, or little packs where guys or suddenly call me about plating and paint questions. So I thought I'd put something together and give you a little twofer here tonight to answer some of that stuff. All right. And it could help you as well. Let's take a look at it. I'm really looking to take a look at it. Hang on, guys. Let me just check one more time to see if maybe I don't have this correct here. And I apologize about that, but let's see what we got.
Guys who are getting ready to either refinish or especially if you're looking to powder coat the triple clamps of your bike. My tip is this: make sure you mask off inside where your fork is going to go through the triple clamp. There's 2 reasons for that. Number 1, if you're going to be powder coating, it builds up kind of thick in there and makes it a little more difficult for you to get the fork back in when you go to put your bike back together. And then before you know it, you're going to have a stubby screwdriver like this stuck in here trying to pry it open. Don't laugh. You know you do this. I've done it too. So mask off the inside of the triple clamp like this before you prime, before you paint, especially if you're going to powder coat. Tell your powder coater that you want that area masked off and you don't want any powder coat in there. When you get done, you'll have a product that looks like this. Neatly painted, nice and clean inside, and you won't have any problem getting your fork back in. One more point I'd like to make, and it's another reason why you don't want to have paint in this area. Forks on a vintage bike are not very rigid. They're small forks, sometimes 34, only 36 millimeter. When you go to turn, you want to have as much rigidity as possible. You don't want a nice chrome fork tube in there against some paint or powder coat. It's going to make it even less of an area that's really going to have a grip on it in the fork. So make sure you mask it off like that, whether you're powder coating or painting. When you're refinishing the hardware on your bike, you want to pay close attention to your axle ends, as well as all the rest of the hardware on your bike. Throughout the years, whether it's from a crash or one gets scraped, or many times people have put them in with a hammer and will cause quite a bit of damage on that axle end, you're going to want to make sure that you prepare it before you plate it. In this particular instance, we're seeing some rust on this one. It doesn't look like it's hammered too badly, but some of the rust is causing some pitting, some scaling. I'm going to show you how to get that down to make it nice before you send it in for plating. Yesterday on the page, I posted something that showed how to do this, just in pictures, no video, and I used a little angle grinder, just like this, with a roll-off disc on it. And this is a great way to do it, but maybe you don't have one. So I'm going to show you how to do it today with some simple tools that you might have at home. First, starting with a little sanding block like this with some 240 grit sandpaper. Remember, on many axles, there's a little curve, so you want to keep that in mind as you're going over it with your sandpaper. Or if later on you're filing it, but you go with the contour of the axle or the axle end. That while the rust is gone, there is some pitting there. Could be some light hammer marks, I'm not so sure. But now with the rust gone, we can see what's going on. And the angle grinder. The end of our axle came out absolutely wonderfully.
All right, and there you have it. a little tip on polishing, plating, and a little bit on the painting of your triple clamps too. Now, I have been going down the list here and looking at the prices that some people have put in for the What's It Worth segment, which was at 1935 Harley Davidson. Doug Nemeth, $275,000 is my second guess. Well, I didn't think anybody would even come close without going over. And the closest it looks like anybody came is Banana Brooks at $170,000. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong during the show, but it looks like Banana Brooks has come the closest without going over, because the actual price that this bike sold for was $203,500. That's $203,500. Did I run the video on that too? Did I run the video on that?
No.
I didn't run the video on the Harley?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. All
Kevin
right, listen.
Kevin Burgess said 200,000.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, then Kevin Burgess is the winner.
Correct.
All right, Kevin Burgess, you're going to get yourself a book by Kurt Evans, okay? We are going to take a commercial break. We're going to hear from Full Circle Racing. And when we get back, Susie's going to be popping in here with our viewer appreciation winner, okay? We'll be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A once I find the commercial.
I'm Gary Wilson.
I'm Dave Arnold. I'm Heikki Mikkola.
I'm Brock Glover, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
I get asked often, what's the most important thing on Clunker? The answer's simple, it's me. That's why I use Full Circle Racing wheels prepped by Tom McAllister. So should you. Watch this and learn why. When racing vintage motocross where suspension is very limited, your wheels can be the difference between winning or serious injury. We chose to run Full Circle Racing wheels because of the super high quality materials and the heavy duty spokes used. Prepped by Tom McAllister, I have the confidence on the track to push way harder through the rough stuff and the bigger jumps, knowing my wheels are going to stay under me. Hey, Clunker may be 50 years old, but his wheels are brand new, and yours should be too. Call Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing today.
All right, and as promised, I am going to bring Susie back in here, and she's going to be telling us about tonight's viewer appreciation winner. Suze, what do you got?
I have Mark LaRue.
Mark LaRue. I once had Mark LaRue on a guest, a very brilliant author of different types of books, not only motorcycle books, but yeah, Mark LaRue, congratulations. You are tonight's viewer appreciation winner. And it's funny, I've never given away a book, and yet... Oh, are we giving away the book? No, we're giving away the book for the viewer appreciation, Sue, or the oil?
Yeah, I think so, because nobody won the Kevin Burgess won the What's It Worth, but
right.
nobody called in for the trivia.
For the trivia, so which means we still have oil left. But you know what? Mark LaRue is a book guy, and I have a couple of copies of the Kurt Evans book, so I'm going to send him a book along with the oil.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Suze. And we'll, if you hear anything on the trivia, let me know.
I will let you.
All right, Suze. And we're moving right on here. You guys want to see that question one more time on trivia? Japan leads the world in motocross motorcycles, but they have very few world champion riders. Can you name them? Well, can you? Let's find out. All right. Hopefully we'll get somebody in here that will have the answer to that, because I like giving away stuff. And it's also, it's kind of a cool piece of trivia or history in the sport, the answer to that question. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. In the meantime, we're going to move right on to Today in Motocross History. Today in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X. Be sure to visit them at racerxonline.com. All right. And it is Today in Motocross History. Let's get a look at what was happening all those years ago. 1979 at the 125cc Grand Prix of Ireland, Clondalkin, Suzuki's Harry Everett swept both motos and in doing so built himself an insurmountable lead in the 1979 FIM 125cc World Championship. Everett's already a 250cc world champion back in 1975 with Puch, took the world title away from his teammate Akira Watanabe, the only Japanese rider to ever win an FIM Motocross World Championship. Hello! I thought somebody would have gotten that a long time ago. Anyway, 1990, American Jeff Stanton dominated the U.S. 250 GP at Unadilla, going 1-1 for the first GP win of his career. Fellow AMA riders, Mike LaRocco and Larry Ward ran second and third in that moto. GP regulars, Trampas Parker and Pekka Vakkonen, both FIM Motocross World Champions, finished second and third, respectively, that day. And you know, you heard me read the MX history thing, right? And I thought long before I did MX history tonight that somebody would get the trivia answer. And they didn't. They have very few world champion riders. Can you name them? Well, guys, this could be one of the first weeks, but the rider is Akira Watanabe. And he was the 125cc world champion, as you heard me read here just a moment ago. Akira Watanabe, the only Japanese rider ever to win an FIM Motocross World Championship. That's how I actually came up with the question for trivia, was when I looked up on the Racer X page what was happening today in, in motocross history. That's when I discovered about Akira Watanabe being the only Japanese world champion. Can you imagine that? I mean, when I thought about it, I said, Kawasaki, Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda, that's where the factory bikes were coming from in the glory days, the golden era of motocross. They're all over in Japan, the best bikes, right? Whether Lackey was riding one or Marty Smith or Jimmy Weinert or a host of other people around the world were racing Grand Prix, and they all came out of Japan. Now, how is it that Akira Watanabe is the only Japanese world champion? But that is true. I'm not going to give away any prizes, but would somebody like to guess what country has the most world champions and they don't manufacture bikes there? Put it in the comments. We'll have a little fun with that in just a little bit, okay? In the meantime, we are going to run the replica motorcycle parts commercial. We'll be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Hi, I'm Al Roof, the other lumberjack, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A.
Hi, I'm Paul Parkinson with Replica Motorcycle Parts. I'm sitting here with our test bike, which is ridden by Jerry Maddox. It carries the #1 plate in the U.S. Let's go over a couple of the parts that we've got on here. We've got our ignition cover with the case saver built into it, so that when the chain comes off, you're not damaging your cases. Spacer, foot pegs. Jerry runs our air box. Seat brackets, keeps the seat on tight so he doesn't fall off when he's going over the whoops. And then this side, Jerry runs a couple little things, a lot of little rubber parts on the bike, and that stuff are all done by us. And then down here we've got our brake pedal, which has got needle bearings in there, and then it's got a wider toe peg, so it gives them a real nice, clean, easy to use brake. And then this is our latest part. This is a CR250 type knuckle. In fact, Honda used them on the last versions of the MR175, and this is a real trick aluminum Kickstarter arm. So that gives them lightweight, strength, and reliability more than anything else. Reliability.
All right, we are back at Vintage Motocross Q&A live, and while I'm thinking about it, I just saw Pat Young's name on the screen. Pat Young, you were a winner a couple of weeks ago. Now, I can't remember whether it was viewer appreciation, it may have been trivia, but you have a prize coming, Pat, and I don't have your address. I posted it on Facebook. I posted your name, but if you get me your address, I will go back and find out exactly what you won, and we'll make sure we get you that prize. Okay. John Cacaval says, maybe that's why nobody answered. No one can spell his name. You don't have to spell his name. You call in and it's Akira Watanabe. You know, it's like Want-a-nabe. I mean, is that like, come on, that's like an ice cream man named Cone or Mr. Bookman, Remember that? My favorite Seinfeld episode. Anyway, yeah, Akira Watanabe. Okay? All right, let's get back to the show. And what do we got coming up next over here? ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. Oh, yeah, as always. Most sought after part on your Elsinores. The silencer for the 73, 74 Honda Sierra 125s and 250s. Get over to ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. Get yourself one of those today. And they got a lot of other cool stuff over there, too. Paul Parkinson Sr. has really been pumping out some parts. And there's a lot of other cool things over there as well, from filter cages to number plate brackets. You see the commercial for Jerry Maddox's bike Clunker, and that thing is just glistening with all sorts of cool stuff from ReplicaMotorcycleParts.com. All right? All right, I've got a question for you. You ever heard of? Is brought to you by Sunrise Vapor Blasting. Thank you, Mark Variaster and Sunrise Vapor Blasting, for being a big supporter of the show for so many years now. Question is, has a motorcycle ever been produced by a factory with a throttle on the left side? Now, there's one up here. You can see the air in the throttle, but it's not really a throttle. It's some kind of cable, and it pushes and pulls. But I am going to tell you about that right now as we go through this segment. Vintage Indian motorcycles are the most famous mass-produced bikes with a left-hand twist grip throttle. Primarily manufactured in 1920 to 1940, they utilized this setup so police officers could easily hold and fire a gun with their dominant right hand while riding. However, vintage Indian motorcycles built before the 50s famously used the left-hand twist throttle alongside manual hand shifters and foot-operated clutches. Historically, manual spark advanced levers on classic motorcycles were often controlled by the left grip, though this verified by manufacturers. Indian motorcycles placed the throttle on the left and the spark advance on the right, while Harley-Davidson reversed that. Since 1974, all manufacturers have put the shift on the left side, the throttle on the right. In fact, the shift on the left side was in 74. The throttle being on the right, or the throttle being on the right, was long before that. And that's really the truth of it. Indian did it, and they did it so policemen and people, they did this for the armed forces too, so they could actually fire a gun while they were riding a motorcycle. And if you're not fully aware of exactly what I was talking about a little bit earlier, as far as the manual spark advance goes, before modern engines were equipped with an automatic ignition, riders would manually adjust the timing of the spark plugs firing based on the engine's RPM load. Retarding the spark when starting the bike would make it safer for the rider, and you wouldn't shear either the Kickstarter shaft or break the Kickstarter itself, or worse, maybe break your leg. Advancing the spark while you were riding was also done the same way, manually by hand. They would advance the timing, and the bike would spark at the proper time and get the bike the best performance. So yeah, Indian made a bike with the throttle on the left-hand side for, well, it was in the 20s to the 40s. And I think it's kind of interesting that we had something like that. I'm thinking of maybe there was I'm thinking of my cousin Vinny with the girl who said something about when a car was built. Forget that. International Motocross Museum is the sponsor of our announcements segment. Be sure to go over to YouTube and check out the International Motocross Museum, fastguystuff.com. Thank you, Sean Goins, being a longtime supporter of the show, supplying us with stickers. I know you supply a lot of other guys with stickers as well. All right, we've got some events coming up. Got the Moto Barn coming up in October. A bittersweet event, the Steve Wise Memorial. Guest speakers will be there. There'll be free food and drink. There's a bike show, some beautiful trophies. That all happens on October 24th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on County Line Church Road in Ruther Glen, Virginia. So far, they got Warren Reed, Barry Higgins, and Martina Faltova Cope will be there. All right. We're more than halfway through the season, and everybody's schedules are up, but there are some events coming up in the future, including the Zor Motocross Park Race. You've heard me talk about that over the past several months. That's a 3-day event. Got some other ones coming up too. The Vintage Motocross Ride Day that happens on September 19th. That is in Walton, Indiana. The Christian Motocross Club is putting that event on, and there's been a change of venue for the Rock warm-up. If you want to know more about that, well, I'm a little late on this one. That race was last weekend. July 11th and 12th. Forgive me. Jeff Comboy still got a couple of books left for $79. For a few bucks more, you can get the Pomeroy autographed book as well. Very few of those happening. If you get the AMA magazine every month, you saw this great story on Paul Stennard and Preston Petty. That was a news story that broke just a couple of weeks ago. And of course, it'll be here before you know it. York, Pennsylvania, 2027. Save the date, January 24th, 2027. The night before that, if you can make it, the Potomac Vintage Riders have the most amazing banquet with prizes. I mean, I don't want to, it's not that I'm going negative on this, but I'll tell you this. By the time you get done with the dinner and they start giving away prizes, you'll get tired before they give away all the prizes. I mean, you really got to be like in shape to stay up for the Potomac Vintage Riders when they do their year-end banquet, and that's the night before the York swap meet. All right. If you want a t-shirt, a hoodie, a tank top, whatever you might want, we've got them in all the colors, all the sizes. Prices start at just $24.95. You can get the cartoon, which is, of course, by the author of that book, Kurt Evans. You can get the classic logo design, or you can get the logo on the hat. All hats are just $22, shipping included, and they come in black only. Thank you once again to all the supporters and sponsors of Vintage Motocross Q&A. And if you saw Al Roof a little bit ago on the show, he comes sliding in there on his Yamaha, tells you that you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Well, if you'd like to do that and you'd like to make a video like that, I would be more than welcome to have it here on the show. I like what everybody does for us here, and I just want to offer another way to show my thanks by having you on the show with us here, okay? But that wraps it up for Vintage Motocross Q&A. I think I got everything in this week. So, did I forget anything, or are we good? What's that?
You're good.
We're good?
Yeah,
It's good. And Rocco and Gina were quiet tonight, too. Thanks for keeping those boys in line.
you're welcome.
I'm Joe Abbate. Thank you for watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you for sharing the show and for being a part of it all. We will see you next time on Vintage Motocross Q&A.